Greetings, comrades. Hope this finds you well. Quick shout out to INN, the Indian News Network, which I'm stoked to be a founding member of. So this was a pretty interesting article I found at Brazil Wire. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to share it because the Brazil Wire site on my Chrome is working kind of wonky, so I might have to just kind of read from it and then commentate as I go. But it has to do with Glenn Greenwald getting into this kind of argument over Twitter with these members of, I believe it's a petroleum union, some petroleum union representatives or workers in Brazil, and they were basically, saying it was problematic that David Miranda, who is Glenn Greenwald's husband, he's a member of the Brazilian Congress, the party, the Brazilian Socialism and Freedom Party, PSOL, as Miranda announced he had convinced U.S. tech billionaire Jack Dorsey, formerly, CEO of Twitter, to donate $1.2 million towards the renovation of public sports facilities in Jacarenzo, the Rio de Janeiro favela where he grew up. Greenwald then announced that they were looking for donate. I'll link this down below so you can read it for yourself. We're looking for donations for similar projects in the South Zone favelas, Vidigal and Rohina. It was important, Miranda added, because we can't depend on the state to do this thing. It isn't doing it. And this is from Brian Meyer. The title of the article is Greenwald's Embarrassing Public Spat with the Brazilian Union. On Twitter, PSL-affiliated Marxist history professor Humberto Mata said it was troubling to see a U.S. libertarian billionaire sponsoring a congressman from a socialist political party. Glenn responded, asking why it was worrying that David got unrestricted funding to renovate public structures in the favela where he grew up, where family members still live. Quote, this is Greenwald. Would it be better to leave them without resources, he said? And quote, that is also troubling. Then Cindy Petro ES, the Espirito Santo State Petroleum Workers Union, jumped in. What is really worrying is to see David justifying this on Flow with the idea that you can't rely on the state for social transformation. To see a federal congressman use such depoliticized line of thinking borders on the ridiculous. Why is he a congressman then? Question mark. I mean, it's a pretty good question, right? And the whole goal, of socialism would be, or could be one of them, to have a, rationally, centrally planned economy, an economy that's designed to meet the needs of the masses, not just the needs of the few, as we have in, the United States, as from my understanding, what is, largely in Brazil, especially under, Bolsonaro. Luckily, it looks like, Lula is going to wipe the floor with, Bolsonaro in the upcoming election. Greenwald quickly replied, the fact is the state is ignoring the residents of the favela. David's mandate is to pressure them to do more, but it's grotesque and immoral to not do everything you can to try to improve the community, especially the one he grew up in. It's easy to say you don't care. Cindy Petro ES answered again. This is the union in Brazil. This isn't the issue, Glenn. The issue is you trying to justify personal action with depoliticized rhetoric that shows David doesn't have any real perspective of anti-capitalist transformation of society, which is PSLO's mission. Then Glenn, who allegedly made 2,500 times the Brazilian minimum wage while working for tech billionaire Pierre Omidyar at Intercept, tried to pull the Fox News elite leftist card on a labor union representing thousands of petroleum platform workers who earned an average salary of 1.7 times the Brazilian minimum wage, around $350 a month. In 2020, as David explained on Flow, he said, for some privileged leftists, politics is a game to show purity and superiority. For people who grew up like him, is not an abstraction. His only purpose in politics is to improve the lives of the people, and this is what he is doing. Cindy Petro replied, we are qualified to talk about this, Glenn. We work on many partnerships in vulnerable communities. Using the privilege card to bury criticism of political action doesn't stick here. We know very well that contradictions and dialogue make up an important component of good base level organizing. I mean, it is pretty rich Glenn claiming that these, petro workers who make, barely over the Brazilian minimum wage are privileged leftists when he makes over 2,500 times the Brazilian minimum wage. If anybody is privileged here, it's obviously Glenn fucking Greenwald, not these, union petro workers, right? I mean, Jesus Christ. Greenwald answered, I think the people in the community have the right to decide uh, what they want to improve their lives. It's a group of residents who created this renovation plan, and they asked us for help to help find finance and worry about their wishes, not your ideological dogma. Cindy Petro ES, again, the union replied, you're continuing trying to change the subject to make it look like this criticism being made of the social project of self-glam. That's not it. Again, it's the depoliticized nature of it and how it seems like Miranda and both Greenwald are saying, well, the state's not capable of doing it. So we always got to rely on, private charity, private, regress, and can't worry about the state doing it. It's never possible. I mean, that's a very libertarian right-wing outlook, right? The goal would be to create a state that would be able to that would be capable of providing for the material needs of everybody, whether it's housing, education, healthcare, or this type of project, right? Criticism is over justification used for this project that was made on a communication medium with a large audience because it was ridiculous to hear from a federal congressman from the Socialist Party. Greenwald answered, quote, I think that the part of the left that prioritizes its theories and ideology over concrete actions that help lives that need them is rotten. The idea that David is being attacked for answering the request for help from the residents of Jacarinzo is especially grotesque. So other people jumped in the argument. Cindy Petro ES made a final comment. This is troubling because this type of idea that the private sector, through its generous donations, is an answer for morose bureaucracy of the state is basically what right-wing billionaire-funded groups like Renova BR and MBL expose. It's basically the entire theoretical basis of neoliberalism. Lol. So again, I think, that's a point well taken. Like it's good that this project got that, funding, but what is problematic about it is how it's being framed in that depoliticized nature as, that union. And as Brian, Mayer, I think it's Mayer pointed out in that article on Brazil Wire, which I'll link, down below. Yeah, because it's like, well, no, we should be, you can have these contradictions happening and call them out, right? Like, it's really fucked up that we had to rely on, this billionaire, this right-wing libertarian billionaire, Jack Dorsey, the former CEO of Twitter, to fund this project in this, community in Brazil. We need to work towards creating a state that would be able to provide necessary, material basis for people to have, a high quality of life. But it doesn't seem like that's what Miranda or Greenwald were doing, with this. And it was, again, this very depoliticized nature and this kind of this very libertarian, framing of it, which isn't super surprising coming from, Greenwald, frankly. But David Miranda, his husband, is a member of that Socialist Party. So I think it's kind of problematic if that's the framing that he was using. And this article is definitely making it seem like that is the framing that was being used. So pretty interesting. What do you think about this? Let me know in the comment sections down below. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe for more content. Quick shout out to the two Uber comrades supporting my channel, my partner in Indie Left News. Definitely check out Indie Left News. They're a great resource. Peace.